Rain hammered the roof of the abandoned church, hard enough to shake dust from the rafters. The building crouched at the edge of the woods, like something ashamed to still exist. Rot spread across the pews in black veins, while dozens of candles filled the sanctuary with flickering orange light that never quite reached the corners. Strange symbols carved into the floor glowed faintly beneath layers of dried blood and seawater. At the center of the room sat Zerpina Maximoff, tied to a wooden chair, vaping. She looked less concerned about the cult surrounding her, and more irritated that one of them had cracked the plastic casing on her vape when they shoved her into the van. "You know," she muttered, inspecting the damage, "you could have just knocked on my apartment door." Around her, hooded cultists chanted in low, rhythmic voices, and the air itself vibrated with it. At the altar stood a tall figure in crimson robes, clutching an enormous black tome bound in cracked leather and tarnished metal corners. The moment Zerpina saw it, she narrowed her emerald eyes. "Oh, come on." The cult leader raised the book reverently overhead. "At last," he proclaimed, voice trembling with joy. "After generations of searching, the Black Testament of Vhalzorith has returned to its rightful place." Zerpina stared at the tome. "That's my PlayStation book." The chanting faltered. The cult leader ignored her completely. "Tonight the sleeper beneath tides shall awaken. Tonight the veil between worlds shall collapse. Tonight humanity shall witness the beginning of... You stole that from my apartment." One nearby cultist shifted nervously. The leader lowered the book slightly. "What?" "The back left corner of my PS1 sinks." She exhaled vapor lazily toward the ceiling. That book kept it level. Silence spread slowly across the sanctuary. A few cultists exchanged uncertain glances. The leader laughed weakly. "You expect us to believe you used the Black Testament of Vhalzorith as furniture? That worked pretty good, actually." A cultist near the rear visibly crossed himself. Zerpina continued, "I found it at a yard sale, under a box of Christmas decorations." The cult leader stared at her in open disbelief. "That tome contains the hymns of the outer abyss." "Cool. The language inside predates mankind itself." "Okay, it is the key to opening the final gate." Still balanced the console. The room became quiet again. Not normal quiet, something deeper. The candles dimmed all at once. Several cultists suddenly looked uncomfortable without understanding why. A few instinctively stepped farther away from Zerpina's chair. The cult leader opened the tome atop the altar. Immediately the symbols carved into the church floor ignited with crimson light. The building shook. A deep sound rolled beneath the earth. Wet, ancient, alive. Black seawater began leaking slowly from the cracks between the stones while the shadows overhead twisted into impossible shapes. Some of the cultists fell to their knees, weeping in religious ecstasy. Zerpina took another pull from her vape. "Seriously, though, after this, can I take the book home?" The cult leader raised a ceremonial dagger high above his head. "Great sleeper," he screamed. "We offer this sacrifice unto you." Reality split open above the altar. Not visually at first, conceptually. The human mind struggled to process what emerged beyond the tear in existence itself. Vast shapes moved behind reality like something enormous pressing beneath thin ice. Eyes larger than planets opened briefly within the darkness. Several cultists immediately began bleeding from the nose. One collapsed screaming, then the thing spoke. Not in words, in pressure, in meaning. Who calls the sleeper beneath tides? The church trembled violently. The cult leader fell prostrate before the altar. "Lord of the Black Sea," he cried, "we return the testament and offer you this mortal vessel." A long silence followed, then the presence shifted. Slowly, its immense attention settled onto Zerpina. Everything stopped. The candles stopped flickering. The seawater stopped moving. Even the cultists unconsciously held their breath. The ancient thing beyond reality remained utterly still, watching her. Zerpina blinked back at the massive eye forming above the altar. "What?" Another long silence. Then, "Why is the hollow child bound in rope?" The cult leader froze. The what? The vast presence ignored him. Its attention never left Zerpina. The pressure in the room changed subtly now, not rage, nervousness, confusion, like something ancient, trying very carefully not to make a mistake. Zerpina frowned slightly. Did you just call me hollow? Several cultists slowly backed away from her chair. The entity spoke again, quieter somehow despite shaking the church to its foundations. Why does she smell of nicotine and microwaved pizza? And I'm literally sitting right here. A nearby cultist whispered shakily, Master, who is she? The eye above the altar widened slightly, and for the first time since the ritual began, genuine fear entered the church, not from the humans, from the thing beyond reality. You did not know. The cult leader looked between Zerpina and the entity in horror. What does that mean? No answer came. Instead, the ancient presence focused upon the tome resting atop the altar. Its enormous pupil contracted. Then, you used a convergence relic to stabilize entertainment hardware. Yeah, another silence. The cultists now looked openly terrified, not of the entity they summoned, of her. The thing beyond reality seemed to hesitate before speaking again, carefully, respectfully. The ritual cannot continue. The cult leader staggered to his feet. What? You have involved her. I don't understand. Neither did Zerpina. She sat there vaping while reality itself quietly panicked around her. The entity's eye remained fixed on her the entire time, wary like a chained animal trying not to provoke something larger standing nearby in the dark. The cult leader screamed in desperation. We followed the texts exactly. The answer came instantly. The texts never account for her. Then the church exploded. The walls ruptured inward as colossal black tendrils burst through reality itself, tearing screaming cultists apart in sprays of crimson. Candles vanished beneath torrents of freezing seawater, while impossible mouths opened across the ceiling. Chaos consumed the sanctuary. One cultist tried to run. Something enormous unfolded inside his shadow and dragged him screaming into the floor. Another simply vanished mid-prayer. Through it all, Zerpina sat watching the massacre with exhausted annoyance. So am I getting my book back or what? The ropes binding her wrists immediately unraveled. The massive eye above the altar blinked once. Then the ancient entity spoke with the strained patience of something trying desperately to avoid offending her. Please leave. All right. Zerpina stood, grabbed the tome off the shattered altar, and shoved it under one arm. She paused near the doorway. Oh, and one of your guys cracked my vape. The colossal being beyond reality went silent for a moment. Then somewhere behind her, a cultist began screaming far louder than the others.